Hey, it's Riley here, and welcome to the Executive Sleep Coaching Experience Program overview. This is our top tier program, our creme de la creme, our programs of programs. I've spent thousands upon thousands of hours designing this program, all the years that went into it through my own health journey, researching, talking to some of the best doctors in the world, spending tens of thousands of dollars speaking to them, doing my own research for hours upon hours a day when it comes to sleep. And I'm continuing to do so inside the sleep lab, as I like to call it. And what you're seeing here is I've seen many different sleep programs available in the market today. And in my opinion, this is by far the most comprehensive sleep program on the planet right now for everything that we cover. It's all comprehensive. All everything you need to sleep better plus more, it is inside here. But we're not making it complicated for you by just stacking different features and throwing things in. This is truly done for you, where I'm going to be holding your hand every single step of the way to help you sleep better, wake up feeling more energized, having abundance of energy that's just effortless, that lasts all day long, where you just have a zen-like mind, creativity just skyrockets. You just have brilliant ideas that just pop out of nowhere that could potentially lead on to your next venture. Maybe you have an 8-hour workday and you want to shorten that into 3 or 4 hours. Everything inside of here is exactly pinned, like pinpoint accuracy, and what we call is a sniper approach to really address your biology and look under the hood of your biology to see what's going on. And then once I see this full picture, this is where my expertise comes in and really just give you phenomenal results without you even have to do too much thinking. Obviously, there's work to be involved in this program on your part, and the more closely you follow the steps that I lay out for you inside of here, and it's custom step by step, and it's different for everybody based on what their biology and their lab tests show me, plus all the other indicators. But this is really, if you truly want to improve your sleep in the fastest way possible, this is ultimately it. And this is what I wish I had at the beginning of my sleep journey, midway through my sleep journey, and even before I created this program, because this is just all encompassing, all enticing. And I can't wait to show you what it is all about. So let's get started. Before we do, though, I just want to give you some philosophy of why we're doing what we're doing. I get into this a lot more inside of my Sleep Solution System program, and I don't want to educate you. I just want to give you a brief level overview to show you what is this all about. So there's something known as metabolic chaos, and we're not able to sleep sometimes because we have all these different systems that are inside of our body that can be functioning in a state of dysregulation. And this can be causing us to have symptoms of fatigue. It could be symptoms of brain fog, it could be soreness, it could be we're not getting the body or the physique that we want, is because somewhere down the line, which I'll show you here shortly in this tree analogy, and something else that we call the upstream analogy, of why you're not experiencing the sleep that you really deserve, that what you think is your body has the potential of giving you. You might think that you're healthy, but there's sometimes stuff happening under the hood of your biology why it's not allowing you to do so. And this is what it comes down to, is metabolic chaos. So you can think of metabolic chaos as your body in a state of dysfunction inside of your body. So it could be inflammation, it could be the quality of your sleep, it could be all these different factors that are involved. And this is what causes your body to get into the state of metabolic chaos, which is, you may have heard of homeostasis. And what homeostasis is when we're stressed, then our body compensates and it gives a feedback mechanism that we won't be stressed anymore. Or if we eat a sugary food, blood sugar goes up, blood sugar goes down. And our body is always going to a state of regulation. Again, homeostasis. But when it's all over the place, this and our body just is out of control and it just doesn't react the way that it should. This is when things start to get out of alignment. And this is where you see these outside weak links, which are known as, you can see in the big bubbles on the outside here, is different systems within your body that can start to have weak links. Now, ideally, all these links would be very strong. Everything, all these systems, you can think of it like a car would be optimized and just running on all full cylinders that are just running smoothly, effortlessly, and just communicating with each other. The feedback system between all of them is working great, and everything is just perfect. And if that's the case, you're probably not referring to this program right now, because if you're not sleeping well, then chances are there's some weak link that's happening throughout the year. So if we just start from the left over here, we have glucose homeostasis, we have our muscle, we have our bones, we have our motility, we have brain fog, cloudy thinking, the quality of our sleep, we have our endocrine system, which is all of our hormones, our adrenaline, we have our cortisol, we have our if we're a female, we have a lot of our female hormones. We have our testosterone. If we're a man, as we get older, a lot of these hormones can start to go down just naturally as we age. But just because we age doesn't mean that we're the destiny of our genetics and the destiny of age, what people have just told us and we've just been fed and known to believe. There's so much more than that. And I've proven it in my own biology by overcoming my own autoimmune condition. And I've just seen it time and time again with other people that are following this, what I designed for them as well. And I'm sure the same can be known for you too. We also have our protein turnover. We have our weight, fat distribution. We have our entire gut. We have our body's ability to detoxify, whether it's heavy metals, toxins, it just goes on and on. Then we have our immune system. Most of it is inside of our gut, and it correlates also with our brain and the rest of the organs inside of our body. And again, this is all just related to inflammation. And at any point when one of these links starts to become weak, then the rest of the puzzle starts to become weak as well. And then it's not going to be optimizing as well as it should. And for some people, you can think of it like a Jenga puzzle. Once you pull out too many blocks, the whole thing will just start coming down all at once. Now, this is what it really comes down to, is so many people, you can see the tree on the top, are experiencing symptoms, which is the branches of the tree. And what we do to address that is mainstream thinking. And what that is, well, we'll take a pill for that so we can mask the symptoms, whatever that is. So maybe we can't sleep well, and we will take a sleeping pill to help us sleep better. Of course, those are going to have their side effects. If we are anxious, our doctors will give us it could be an antidepressant. It could be benzodiazepine to help us relax, really whatever the case is. The same thing can be said when we feel tired. We're going to go for caffeine. We're going to drink a ton of coffee. It might be 3 or 4 or 5 cups a day. Maybe it's just 1 cup a day, but everybody is on a spectrum and a scale. And this can really mess up our biology. And the truth is this, is if our body was functioning as well as it should at 100% capacity, we really wouldn't have any symptoms because everything is operating as it should. But the issue is if you keep going downstream here, down into the roots of the tree, this is where the problem actually lies, which is in the roots of the tree. And this is where the cause is, also known as the root cause. And so this is what this program is all about, is instead of dealing with things at the symptom level, we're going to be dealing with things at the root cause level. And when we can deal with things at the root cause level, then those symptoms aren't going to even manifest in the first place. Whether it's your gut, we'll get into some of these shortly, whether it's potentially your hormones, it could be your brain neurotransmitters, how all the systems are functioning with each other. It's not one thing in isolation, it's everything together and combined and how it's working at one point in time. So let's look into it a little bit more. What we have to do here is we can't guess any of this stuff. Maybe it's you, or maybe you know somebody else who collects a ton of supplements. Maybe they have a ton of sleeping pills in their medicine cabinet and they don't necessarily know why they're taking it. Maybe they're taking one thing for one symptom and then they're getting side effects from that. Now they're taking something else to compensate for those symptoms. And it just becomes this mess. And it's just this huge stack of so much complexity, and people just don't know why they're taking anything anymore. And it's all based on how they think they feel. I can tell you from testing many different people what people say they think they feel versus what the objective reality is based on what the lab tests show. There's such a mismatch so much of the time. And it's amazing how surprised people are once they actually see their lab test results, how different it is what they thought was true. And it really just blows their mind. They've been living 10, 20, 30 years this way. And once we're able to get that match in place and they start implementing the right thing of what they thought, which they didn't even know before, their results in their biology fall into alignment so quickly, and they just see results and feel better than they did truly in years. So this is how we do it. And this is from a very top down basic level view. We have to take a solution that is very holistic. So instead of looking at just the symptom level, I want to understand you. I want to understand the full picture of what you are all about as an individual, because everybody's protocol, everybody's biology operates differently based on their current lifestyle, based on their genetics, and so many other factors that are involved. And we do that with 2 different things put together. One is subjective, and we also have to consider objective measures. Now, subjective measures are going to be a lot of questionnaires I'll be giving you, how you will be feeling, specifically designed questions to get you to understand, to also show me the full picture of what's going on. Because at the end of the day, how you feel triumphs all. We'll look at the objective lab test and it'll really give me a good indicator of what's happening under the hood of your biology. But ultimately, it's how you feel. And this is why it's so important, because we're going to be combining how you feel based on the objective measures of the lab test that we'll be looking at inside your biology, and everything combined with my interpretation. We'll be tracking your sleep every night as well when I ship you an Oura ring, and we'll get into that shortly. I bring all of this together into this analysis and really create a protocol for you that's customized and custom tailored to you. That's just like a sniper approach versus just an array of machine gun auto fire that is just going all over the place and doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So let's get into a little bit more in detail. So the first is getting subjective comprehensive lab tests. So I'm going to be asking you a sleep questionnaire. I'm going to be going into your medical history. I'm going to be going into your potential adrenal causes of stress. We're going to be going into different forms of metabolic chaos. And this is all based on different algorithms that I've created in an Excel chart to really simplify everything. And then we can measure, what were you in the past? What's the total score based on the questions you told me? What are you present? And then what are you in the following weeks that we're going through the program? And one thing that we'll be able to see is your numbers will be improving as you answer this questionnaire. It could be once every 2 weeks, once a month. And we know from that we're going in the right direction. And if one number doesn't move, then we know we need to address something here that's probably missing under the hood of your biology. And once we start doing that, then those numbers just start changing so fast. So again, it might sound complicated, but it's really simple. It's just me coming to you with these questions. You answer the questions, and then I take care of everything else inside of there. Now, getting objective, like I said, for best results, we have to get under the hood of all your biosystems. So we have to look at your brain neurotransmitters. We have to look at all the glands and the organs inside of your body, and the metabolites, your thyroid gland, your genetics, a lot of blood test markers. We have to look inside of your mind. Your mind is super important because they say the majority of our mind is our subconscious mind. And our mind is actually more active, or as active while we're asleep, as compared to when we're awake. And this is where we really have to tap into that. But people don't realize it because we're so, as a society, focused on the conscious mind and doing tasks and becoming productive in society, that we've sort of forgot the unconscious mind and how important it is. But it does so much for us. If we can make it align to our conscious reality, then things will just start falling into alignment in our favor, and our life experience will just be that much more effortless. We also have our entire detoxification system. We have all of our different glands, like I said. We have our entire gut. We have our small intestine, large intestine, our stomach, which is involved with our gut microbiome, and just so many more things that the science just continues to show again and again and again. And it's astonishing me with each new scientific lab study that's coming out week by week onto my desk. I cannot believe just all these different things that are coming together, that's making me realize that what I'm doing here is truly working, and why it's truly working for so many people. So the first one we're going to be looking into of the 6 lab tests that we'll be sending directly to you is your genetics. And here's just a snippet of that I took of a couple of the pages on the genetic test that we'll be doing for you. This is one of the most comprehensive genetic tests in the world that I will be sending directly to you. That's based on saliva. We'll be sending it back to the lab, and then I will see the results electronically. You will get these as well, and this will really tell me things that we need to know. So for example here, what's the ultimate diet type that somebody should follow? And we'll also be looking at how sensitive is somebody to caffeine, or how sensitive are they to carbohydrates? How fat sensitive are they? What are their needs for iron, for iodine, and all these different things as well. So for example here, one of our recent clients, they seem to have a higher need for iodine. Now, iodine is very important with thyroid. And what was very interesting is when we tested their thyroid, turns out that they were hypothyroid. And their thyroid, what that means is it's not functioning. It's sort of running slow, and they're feeling fatigue, cold hands, cold feet. And we saw it because their iodine was low. Now we address some of the iodine plus these other things. We have to address everything non-specifically. And sure enough, they were feeling so much better. So we just know from the genetic markers that it was something that they probably just need a little bit more of. But again, this is just one part of many. There's so many things that you can look at here caffeine sensitivity, and how I custom design a program for people. We also looking at people's, injury risk. And again, this is just a snippet of just different interesting things that I wanted to show you here as we go through the program. So some of it won't be super applicable to sleep, but it's also something that's really good to know. Maybe it's something to do with exercise. We need exercise in order to sleep better and for stress and everything else. But if we can see that somebody has a high injury risk and they're doing an existing form of training, now we need to switch up their protocol so they're not doing such a stressful form of exercise on their body. Maybe they want to get a very good physique, build a lot of muscle, or lose weight, and we can see what their body type and their natural metabolism is, and the way that they're training is not conducive to the results that they want in their life. And this is when we see this objective data, we can make custom adjustments on the fly and be able to provide them with a custom tailored protocol. And sure enough, before you know it, people are experiencing groundbreaking results. We can see people's inflammation markers, their appetite, metabolic chaos. It just goes on and on. Here's some to do with sleep. Sleep apnea risk, sleep depth, the sleep duration, the amount of movement, what's their sleep quality. Sometimes people are an easy sleeper, insomniac. They're insomniac, then maybe we need more support for them, and they may not know this. Are they a morning lark or are they a night owl for the chronotype? Because then now we know so many people stay up late into the night, but actually they're a morning lark, and they think they're a night owl just because they've been doing it naturally for so many years, because they force themselves into that schedule, and our bodies adapt to whatever that we provided over a period of time. But maybe you are naturally a morning person, but you've just been staying up late. But what about if you were to shift your schedule to a morning lark, which is, again, conducive to what your body is naturally functioning best at? You would be amazed how much better you can function throughout the day. We look at people's stress tolerance, potential alcohol addictions, just things that might not be related, but it's just so interesting to see different people. And when I pull this up with people on a lab, some of our first initial sessions together, going over the lab tests, they cannot believe when I say, "Are you this kind of person? Have you experienced this before?" And it's almost like I'm reading their mind of their previous experiences, just from what I'm seeing. It can definitely be a lot of fun as we go through it, and they can have fun too with what they've thought they were experiencing before, but what the reality actually is. But it's just amazing, groundbreaking when they can see the results. Also, personality traits we'll look at. So how agreeable is somebody? Again, just based on genetics, it's not 100% accurate. We have to take into a lot of different factors. Again, subjective as well. How extrovert is somebody? Potentially neurotic, and this can help us design or help us go in the right direction of a protocol. Make, again, adjustments on the fly. Potential IQ, creativity, educational attainment, mathematical skills, memory skills, and just all these other things that go up. Potential disease, hypertension, obesity. How sensitive are people to pollution or dust or pesticides? Do we need to have more detoxification support inside of their body at certain times? And again, this is just one element of it. So that's everything to do with genetics. The next one we're going to be looking at is a lot of metabolites inside of your body. And here is where things get very, very interesting, because metabolites will tell us a lot of different things. It's going to be telling us how do our B cells, a lot of our B vitamins are associated with our energy production, also known as the Krebs cycle. We need these 14 different steps in the Krebs cycle to complete in order to form one ATP. Not just one, but many forms of ATP, as the cycle keeps going around and around. And I realize you might not understand that. It gets complicated. But again, that's where I come in to really help people out. So if we go from the top left here, we can see fatty acid metabolism. We ideally want to be within the first. So if you go from the left, you count 1, 2, 3. So from that third one, we want to be ideally between that third one and that first one in there. And we can see the number 3 is sort of in there, but the rest are out of balance. Now we go down carbohydrate metabolism. This person, again, is low. The other ones are not, in the charts there. So this is definitely an issue someone's having with their carbohydrate metabolism. Look at this energy production. This person was a recent client of mine, and they were having no energy output at all. And it was no wonder why, because their energy production was just like, there was nothing. We can see a lot of these things are on the low side. Citrate, we have isonitrate, isocitrate, succinate, fumarate, malate, and all these other things that it relies on. I realize this is another language for you, and this is where I come in to really custom tailor a protocol for you. Now, going to the right, we have B, complex vitamin markers. Again, some of those are in alignment, but the rest aren't. Then we go into methylation. So how well can we detox something known as glutathione, methylmalonate, and we have formonino-glutamate. Some of these are a little difficult to pronounce, especially when you say it again and again. Moving down even more, we have your brain neurotransmitters. So, for example, what happens if you can't focus that well? Well, somebody could potentially be low in dopamine. This is where we need potentially tyrosine to come in. So we have methylvanillate, homovanillate, 5-hydroxy acetylacetate, chironate, chironate, and we have quinolinate. It's a tongue twister, like I said. And what this is basically telling us is if somebody is too stressed, maybe they have a low serotonin inside of their body. And this is where we have to come in and compensate, because again, these are metabolites, or they can't focus, like I said. And now we need to bring in some dopamine to really support those systems as well, dial in the diet and everything else that comes along with it as well. Moving onward, we have detoxification markers. So we can see this person was really not detoxing at all. We have no markers between the pin 1 and the pin 3 when it should be all throughout there. And this is just showing us that they're really producing no glutathione to help detoxify the toxin in the body. Oxidative stress seems to be off the charts at the moment. And it was no wonder this person had no energy, especially when they were working out on a regular basis. That forms a lot of this oxidation. They just didn't have that extra nutrients to really facilitate these antioxidants, to really facilitate their body's ability to detoxify what these potential oxidative stress indicators were showing us. And the other very interesting thing is in this person's genetic test is they did not have a very good ability to detoxify, which was so indicative of right here. So we know, okay, this person needs even more support within this area. Moving onwards, we have a lot of our guts or a lot of our bacterial markers, potentially mold inside of our body. We have acidophilus, we have general bacteria, yeast potentially that's inside of our gut that's causing candida, and it just goes on and on. So here's something that's interesting, and these are the three between the three pegs that I mentioned that we really want to be within, because we can see these detoxification indicators, which was the same one as is it the same one? Let me just see here. Yes, same one. And we can see here that these here we go. We can see this person should be falling into the alignment of all these right between these two red bars, but clearly they aren't. Next, we have detoxification indicators of toxins and of their indicators afterwards, after they followed about a 6-week protocol, and we can see they're slowly falling into place. And what do you know? Sure enough, they're able to exercise more. Sure enough, they have just more energy. They just feel, their body just felt cleaner. It felt lighter. They didn't have as much stress anymore. Brain fog started to melt away. And this is just one of at least 15 indicators that was showing us everything was moving inside of the right direction. The next one is hormones. Now, hormones are really important because this regulates how we feel. If you're a man, it can help with drive, not only our sex drive and our testosterone, but our ability to put on muscle. And if it's for a female, it can affect moodiness. It can affect different patterns throughout the month. And if there's a lot of dysrhythm with a female cycle, that can definitely be related to a lot of these hormones that it comes down to, whether it's estradiol, testosterone, cortisol. It just goes on and on and on. So we can see here that there's a rhythm with cortisol. So there's a total cortisol sum that we want, and there's metabolized cortisol, there's free cortisol, and there's also the combination of the two in between, which I'll get to in a second. But there's also something known as the rhythm. Now, we should have a rhythm that is indicative of something right in the middle here. So it should ideally go up to this point here and then go down, be right in the middle. But this person, they were experiencing too much cortisol in the morning, which, again, when I saw this, I said, do you feel stressed in the morning? They said, sure enough, yes. And again, it just presented a very clear depiction of what this person was going through at this point in time. And what we knew then is we designed a protocol to really help over time so we can bring this back down. And again, we're doing everything non-specifically here. And sure enough, that number went back down and everything was functioning as it should. But we can also see their free cortisol was very high and they were stressed, but their total metabolized cortisol was quite low. So to me, this was an indication that they probably weren't detoxifying as well, or there may be a potential issue with their thyroid gland. And sure enough, when we looked at both of those, there was. And I know this looks like another language, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but I just want you to know that I'm going to be looking at all the different hormones, the byproducts of what it goes from one to the next, whether it's a female hormone. We're looking at estrogen, estradiol, the different forms of each, the chart of where you fall, and we're going to be looking at the adrenal gland. So we have DHA, cortisol, again metabolized. There's cortisol and there's cortisone, and then we also have the rhythm too. And it's also going to be based on what your age is. So what's the optimal area for what your age is? Because if somebody's in their early 20s, that I see a lot of the time, their testosterone is sometimes that of a 50-year-old man. This is definitely something that we need to look at inside. And this is where we provide them with the support. And then sure enough, they're able to double their testosterone. Or if it's female and their cycles are a little bit out of whack and they're not able to focus, they might have moodiness. It just goes on and on from there. Then we're able to adjust our protocol accordingly. And what do you know, within weeks or months, they're feeling so much better than they were before. And again, this is really nothing you need to know. I just want to show you what I'm looking at behind the scenes, and you'll just be experiencing the results of a protocol that I can design for you in the best way possible. Another thing that's very important to know is, like I said before, our bodies are dealing with stress all the time, and our body's producing cortisol all the time. And when our body is healthy, our body will adapt to stress in a very efficient way. So we might deal with a argument with somebody, and our stress will go up, and then it'll go back down, or it'll go down, and it'll go back up, and it'll always be in this consistent state. And this is what we want, is healthy adaptation. But what happens from our adrenal glands when they're being overworked, because what they do is they pump out cortisol and adrenaline, and if they're being overtaxed over time, it starts to become like we're whipping a tired horse. At a certain point, we're just demanding so much from them, and they're working in overtime. They're using up all the reserves that over time, yes, we'll start to feel stressed. This could be where someone's feeling, for example, like they're on a dirty high, they have caffeine, maybe they're just go, and they feel like everything's great. In fact, they may even feel like they felt better before, because cortisol, again, it's very stimulatory. But sure enough, before you know it, like whipping a tired horse, it's just not going to go any further. And eventually people will just become absolutely exhausted. And when people's cortisol is low, this is where it can be a pretty long journey. It can definitely take several months or even up to a year or two for them to bring their levels back to normal. This is where they burn the candle at both ends for too long. But what I'm saying here is we can definitely reverse a lot of these things with a customized approach, following up with lab testing kits, and ensuring that you have everything that's just dialed in the best way possible. And this is where I can come in and help you do that in a very efficient way that's comfortable for you, that's enjoyable. I don't want to be your army marshal. I'm here to be your coach, to keep you accountable and get you the results in a great, fast and efficient way. We can also see here is hormone results before and after of somebody that we were working with them. So we can see here on the left side, we have somebody who was dealing with, or excuse me, we have somebody here on the right who was dealing with their cortisol levels were okay in the morning. They felt fine in the morning, but as the day went on, because again, they ideally should be between these two, the high and the low. This is on the high level and this is on the low level. They should be in between the two. But what was happening was they were getting afternoon slumps, and it was all because their cortisol and their rhythm was high. When again, cortisol is good in some circumstances. It does get a bad rap because we feel stress sometimes. And cortisol is related to stress, but this person definitely needed more cortisol throughout their day for them to achieve more energy. Sure enough, they were able to follow the protocol, and within weeks, we were able to adjust it. So look at this. Their cortisol levels were functioning in a great way. And this is called the CAR test, which is based on 6 points. And then when we did the follow-up, this person only did 4, but really still getting a pattern. We can see that it's just so much better. But they also had cortisol levels that were a little bit low at nighttime, which helped them fall asleep, but sometimes they were just wiped at nighttime. So they still had a little bit more work to do, but we can see that we're moving things and moving the dial in the right direction. And we can also see here what their total levels are. So it's not just the rhythm, but we also want to look at the total cortisol sum. We'll be looking at the cortisol DHEAS ratio, all the different times throughout the day. And really what it comes down to is where I come in and analyze these numbers to find out where you sit based on your subjective results, what your current stress environment is like, and then I can create a customized protocol for you from there. Next, we'll be going into your gut. Now, your gut is very important. In my opinion, this is one of the most important tests that we'll be running on you, because if your gut is not functioning properly, 90% of our immune system is inside of our gut. And if our gut is not functioning the way that it should, we're probably going to get sick more. We're not going to be able to fight off a lot of bad bacteria inside of our gut, potential pathogens, potential parasites. And it really wreaks havoc on people. A lot of the food that we eat it all gets broken down into our gut. But even if we're eating a healthy diet, and let's say, for example, we have parasites inside of our gut, those parasites are going to be eating away at the nutrients from that food, which means our neurotransmitters, our body's hormones, and all these micronutrients that our body relies on to, again, complete the Krebs cycle for our mitochondria, for our energy, the powerhouse of our cells, of our energy and our cells, and also the detoxification, all these different things. If we just have one or a couple different parasites, this can be wreaking havoc on our entire body. And we actually can have parasites for years upon years at a time. You sometimes see people potentially who have experienced a lot of gastro symptoms, or maybe they just had fatigue. Maybe they remember a time 20 years ago. Maybe they went down south to Mexico, but not even, maybe they just ate bad fish, and they can just remember a time ever since that one experience, they just didn't have the energy, and they just weren't soaring with an abundance of energy, with a clarity of mind and no moodiness. And they're just, they may have remembered a time when everything was just way more effortless. But after they get one of these things, it can really be nasty for a lot of people. So a couple different examples. And again, not to get too complicated, but Cryptosporidium, H. pylori, Giardia, a lot of these can be really nasty critters. And when you look at it under a microscope, you can see exactly what they do. H. pylori, for example, will take a lot of your stomach acid, which helps break down food. You can think like it really eats up this stuff. And as a result, we don't have the stomach acids to break down food. And what this can cause is something known as gastroputrefaction. And because the food's not broken down, one, our body is not going to stimulate those nutrients and use it for energy and all the other purposes that we need to feel good. But also, two, it's not going to give our body's ability to and motility to carry that stool all the way out. And this is where stool can actually get stuck inside of our intestines, and it can actually retoxify us again. So this is where it's all related. We'll also be looking at different pathogens. Again, parasites. We'll be looking at your entire microbiome. There's a lot of scientific literature showing that the gut microbiome is so important for our behavior, for our metabolism, to lose weight, how it affects our behavior if we get angry, if we feel moody, if we feel hungry, our appetite. There's just so many different variables that are involved. So this is where I will come in. If we see parasites, we will get those out of there as soon as possible. But we have to do it in the right way. If we do it too fast, there can be a die-off reaction for some people. Their adrenal glands will be taxed, especially with somebody who's already low cortisol, and their hormonal profile is just not good. We have to do it in a specific way. And if we go too fast, sometimes people just want to get these things outside of their body, which makes sense, especially if you see the images of what they look like. But it's just too much for them, and they end up feeling worse. So this is where we really have to create a custom to the protocol, have binders inside of there, and just everything else that comes with it. Moving onwards, we can just see your intestinal, we're looking at intestinal permeability, something known as, it's not on this one, but it's known as zonulin, which is how leaky is your gut. Is something known as zonulin getting through to your bloodstream, which can be causing a lot of inflammatory responses, which a lot of scientists do argue is where inflammation for a lot of people start from. Because even if we're eating healthy foods and we have parasites inside of our gut, and our gut is leaky, a lot of these larger food molecules will leak through our gut because it becomes permeable. You can think of it as little holes through our gut, when it should be healthy and sealed and contain everything inside of there. And once it leaks through to to our bloodstream, it recognizes it as a foreign invader. Well, once it's a foreign invader, now our immune system will start to ramp up. And it's almost like when you get a sickness and your body will start to fight that sickness and send fighter cells to go fight that, whatever that pathogen or whatever this unknown thing that comes inside of your body. And this is where we start to feel inflamed. Our stomach might start to feel, it could be cramped, but it could also be if we're just tired, fatigue, brain fog. We're just not thinking as clear as we should. We're not able to sleep properly. We wake up in the middle of the night. It just goes on and on. So let's take a look at this before and after. So we can see this person had a couple different things. So they had pathogen C. difficile. Both were quite high. The bacteria wasn't too bad. They had Enterococcus was a little bit high, but look at this. We can see these opportunistic bacteria were quite high. Their candida was quite high. They're positive for H. pylori to the factor of 3, which is actually pretty alarming. We also see too, they have 2 parasites, which is Blastocystis hominis, and then they have Chylomyces mesni, which I usually call the 3 musketeers. When you see H. pylori, we see blasto, and we either see Clostridium or we see this Chloromastis mesni. And again, some of these are tongue twisters for me. But what that means is this person is clearly not able to assimilate the nutrients. They're not having energy. Their stomach, what they remembered was they were getting cramps. They were getting any food that they were eating. They just felt like they weren't feeling full or satiated. Sure enough, if we look down at the after lab test, a couple months later, we can see that it is completely eradicated. They still have a little bit of H. pylori. We followed up and got rid of that, but you can see that the blasto and the other parasites are completely gone as well. And even though there's some dysbiotic bacteria, I'm not too concerned about these. These usually flush themselves out once we put the client on probiotics. Everything is really just going in the right direction. Then we can see here, the zonulin is still a little bit high. So even though we got rid of this, we start to have to heal the gut. So this is where we come in and repair with very good nutrients to start sealing those barriers so everything stays contained inside. Other ones we look at, calprotectin, which is things of inflammation. It just goes on. Our body's ability also with elastase and steatocrit. Sometimes people who have, for example, me, I had Crohn's disease, and this was causing me to have a lot of blood in my stool. And sure enough, this elastase and calprotectin was off the charts because my gut was just so inflamed. And there was blood in my stool, and it just went on and on. After that, we really want to be looking into your inflammation inside of the body based on the foods that we're putting inside of your body, which can be causing sometimes low inflammation, but sometimes high inflammation. But we really don't know unless we test this stuff. We can do different templates, and we can do an autoimmune diet where we remove certain things, which is amazing. But sometimes people don't want to take out all the foods at once. So using this, we can really see, okay, what foods are people having a sensitivity to that we need to take out for a period of time. Now, it doesn't mean we're going to be taking it out forever, but just for a certain amount of time until our body, again, can heal. And this could be, again, we have to start healing up the gut, removing those foods that are causing the inflammation from the inside and out. And then once the body is in a really good state, now we can introduce it back. The immune system is good. It doesn't recognize it as a foreign invader, and we can start seeing great results within the client. So if we look at the before and after, we can see this test wasn't actually too bad. We usually see a lot of people in the reactive stage, but here this person had moderate reactivity to a couple different versions of food dye. They had some beans. Lentils is a big one for a lot of people. Eggplants, white potatoes, spinach, mushrooms. This was one thing they were eating regularly. Grapefruits, blueberries, aspartame because they were drinking a lot of Diet Coke. They were drinking coffees daily. And it just wasn't really too good for them. Sure enough, only 6 weeks later, we can see everything is starting to fall back into alignment. Now, some of these foods started to go up because, like I said, they were changing their foods. From some of these foods they were inflamed, they were eating on a regular basis that were causing them inflammation, to now switching their foods to something more healthy. But sure enough, we can see here, these ones are going up a little bit more. But this isn't too big of a deal. It's just all about rotation, starting from the top of foods that you'd be the least reactive to. And as a result, less reaction means less inflammatory, and less of your body's ability to respond to try and put out a lot of these fires inside of your body. And if we're able to do that, plus give it all the resources that it needs to heal, it's going to be in a really great place. And we can just see everything here is falling into alignment within the green, which is exactly what I want to see. After that, we'll be looking at the thyroid. Now, I thought I'd mix things up a little bit and show you what my thyroid test results were like. And this was in the early stages when I was seeing how important the thyroid was. Now, you can see before thyroid globulin antibodies. I'm not going to tell you exactly what everyone is, but this is a really good indication that my immune system wasn't functioning as it should. Now, this made me borderline Hashimoto's, which is a form of hypothyroidism, which again, it's correlated with your immune system, where my immune system was essentially attacking my thyroid. From the foods I was eating, from my just natural inflammatory response, the stress I was going through. And sure enough, if we go down to the after, we can see that is below 1. Now, I wasn't even considered Hashimoto's, and the doctors didn't really know why through the conventional mainstream method. Taking a look as well at T3, T3 was quite low, and this was sort of an indicator that I was going towards hypothyroidism. I was having constant cold hands, cold feet. It was affecting my sleep. I was waking up in the night. I was feeling anxious. Sure enough, we can see that goes from 2.7 to 3.5, exactly where we want it in that upper echelon. And I was feeling so much better with an abundance of energy as well. Now, like I said, this is just a snippet of what's inside of this program. I'm going to be looking and analyzing everything inside of here for you based on what your markers tell me. Everybody is completely different. There's no cookie cutter approach that happens with it. It really requires my expertise to see what's happening under the hood of your biology. But by showing you this, I hope to really give you some insight of what you can really achieve once we start not necessarily fixing, but addressing some of these underlying factors of your biology that may not be optimized as they should. Now, there's ultimately no groundbreaking solution for everybody. There's no one supplement or one pill that we'll take to address some of this. For some of it, it might be for some people. Some people may be deficient in, for example, we saw the other person, it was iodine, and some iodine helped them. Well, they also had issues with their gut and issues with their detoxification. So it's addressing everything in this holistic way, in a non-specific way, with supplements, lifestyle, the amount of rest they're getting, and all these different things that is based on their schedule, what fits into their life. Not for me to just tell them to do 20 things a day, but to really fit into your schedule to make it seamless as possible. So again, all you need to do is just follow the daily regime, and things are going to be going in the right direction. So this is the program, the Executive Sleep Coaching Experience. And what I'm going to show you now, those were all the lab tests, but this is everything else that is included inside of the program. So exclusive one-on-one personal sleep coaching with me to sleep better, become more productive, and eliminate stress. I'll include the link down below, but you can just go to thesleepconsultant.com/executive coaching experience to learn more. So what we're going to be doing is one-on-one direct executive coaching with me. We will be doing it virtually. So no matter where you are in the world, you'll be able to get my help on a custom one-on-one basis. My schedule, I'm going to make open to you whenever it works. Now, this is designed to be for 12 weeks. You can use it within 6 months. Some people want to just go back to back. Some people want to take more time. Again, it's based on what your schedule is. And I really wanted to design this to make it for you, not for me to try and just get you into the program and get you out of the program. It's just to help you in the best way possible that just makes sense for you and that makes you feel not too rushed, but at the same time, it's just enough so you can start feeling better on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. So you'll be having 6 lab consults with me. Not only the labs will be going to, but I'll be tracking your sleep. I'll be going over that, talking to you about the different regimes that we have, the protocols, and any questions that you have along the way. There may be some confusion along the way, and I do make it very simple with handouts and everything that I will provide you. But, sometimes you'll just naturally have questions, and this might not be something that you're used to. This is where I'll come in, I'll hold your hand every step of the way and really help you get it, like I said, a deeper sleep, more energy, and a transformed you. And now the next one is very big. This is one-on-one sessions with a world-class Zen mind coach. You will be working with an individual who's been in the fields for 15 years as a therapist, 30 years into self-development. I've seen a lot of therapists out there, Zen mind coaches, and this guy is one of the best. And like I said here, the first time I met him years ago, one of his sessions left me sleeping better for 3 weeks straight. It was a week where I just had deadlines to finish. I was stressed out of my mind. I was drinking so much caffeine, and just one session with him that I was able to do with the subconscious mind, it felt like I let go of 50 pounds over my head. It felt like there was a heavy lead blanket that was over me, and I, my mind was just empty right then. I was empty for words. It was one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life. And sure enough, I started working with him as a client, and then it turned into a partnership where now he's helping me, and we're tackling the uh, sleep crisis of the world together. And now he'll be on your team to help you with your sleep, your subconscious mind, any trauma that you're holding on to, so you can ultimately release it for good, sleep better, feel more productive in the day. Anything that would trigger you before won't trigger you, will be less likely to trigger you, and for some people it won't trigger them at all anymore. So maybe you get into an argument with your sibling or a family member or a friend, and before you go off on them, and then after that argument you would really hold on to that and to that resentment. But once you let go of that stuff from previous trauma that's really controlling this behavior, you really just won't react. You'll still have the memory, but the charge won't be there as much. And this is where it's so powerful, especially when it comes to sleep, because our brain is processing in our subconscious mind many things to make sense of our day, the day before. It's helping us survive. It's helping assimilate memories and all these different factors that come together. And if we're holding on to too much, this is where we start to have heavy dreams, or maybe we're not dreaming, but our brain's just, again, like I said, our brain is just as active, if not more active, while we're sleeping compared to when we are awake. So if we can have an empty mind while we're sleeping, then we're obviously just going to be able to sleep so much easier, so much better, allowing us to get into a deeper sleep that completes all the sleep cycles that we need for deep sleep, REM sleep, and wake up just with an abundance of energy mentally and within our body as well. Like I said, those are all the lab test kits we'll be covering. It'll be 6 lab tests sent to you. We'll also be sending you a new age sleep kit. Now, like I said here, after spending thousands of dollars on sleep gadgets and tools, I've narrowed them down into the top 5 into this new age sleep kit. And again, these are shipped directly to your house, and it's worldwide, just like the lab test kits. Inside of here, I'll let you know one of them. It will be the Aura Ring 3, the latest generation, and I will be tracking your sleep from the cloud from it every single night, which is the point down below. I'll discuss in a second. But also inside of here, I spent tens of thousands of dollars on some of my on so many gadgets, and I've narrowed them down to the top ones to get you the best results possible. And lastly, I will be tracking your sleep every single night. So most people who get the Oura Ring through the app, you see the general numbers, you see the readiness, you see what your heart rate variability is, you see how many steps you've taken for the day, what your resting heart rate, what your resting heart rate is. But there's within the Aura cloud itself, there is at least a few dozen indicators that all correlate with each other in terms of what it actually means. And maybe you see a number that your sleep score might be 70 out of 100, 80 out of 100, 90 out of 100, but you don't know actually what you need to take it to that next level. And this is where I will come in, and based on your lab test kits, based on your subjective data, based on everything else you're telling me throughout your progress in the program, I will be able to see exactly what is causing the trends that are going upward or going downward, to again really just give you results with precision in a sniper approach way. And that's really everything that's inside of the program. We've helped so many people. They just keep expanding, people from their early 20s to the 30s, 40s, 50s, male, female, different jobs, whether they're an entrepreneur, a C-level executive, whether they're an athlete. It just goes on and on. Again, the philosophy, once we're able to address everything from a root cause level of where it's starting in the first place, we're able to just see transformational results in people's lives. And again, it all comes back to the tree. Like I said before, we need to address it from the root cause. We can't guess. We need to ultimately test with it. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you had any questions, please email me at riley@thesleepconsultant.com. And I can't wait to see you either on the call or any questions that you have in follow-up chats that I have with you. I really just want to help you out in any way that I can. So please shoot me a message. We can jump on a quick call. If we already had a call and you want to get enrolled in the program, let me know that as well. And I'd be more than happy to work with you on helping you achieve your goals. Thank you so much, and I'll see you inside.